Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 and welcome to Yo, You Like That, the talk show where I, your host, Zarataro the Hamster, bring on amazing guests in the VTubing community where we talk about something that they enjoy, things that are fun, things that are exciting, things that will boom up to the stratosphere of your likes. So you should give them a shot because they're all wonderful things, especially today's topic. So hey, you know, not being biased, but it's a good one. It's a good one. You're gonna have a good time. Let me go ahead and bring our guest in. One second, I have to do the pose. I have to summon him. Hut, heat. Yeah! Ta-da! Sentai VT, hello!
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Please introduce yourself for those that are unaware.
Yeah, I'm Sentai. I'm a Megazord-themed VTuber. I was a real robot and I got destroyed, and now I'm like an anime boy per standard isekai rules.
Daijujin!
Yeah. And so my arms and helmet are made of little animals, little robots.
Yeah, those are the best thing to have arms and legs made out of.
Yeah, I mostly play mecha games, and also I play a lot of like dungeon crawler RPGs, stuff like Etrian Odyssey.
Both are good genres. Both are damn good genres. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Let me go ahead and get your topic that you pulled ready here up in the center so people can see. We're going to be talking about the Super Sentai series. I am very excited.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. For those that may not be aware of what Super Sentai is, how would you like to describe it to someone?
Yeah, so just I'm sure we'll talk about them more later, but running through some things really quickly. The medium is tokusatsu, which just refers to live action shows with a lot of special effects, suits, props, pyrotechnics, all that good stuff. And then the genre is Henshin Heroes, which covers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider,
Beetleborgs?
Like girl stuff. Technically, yeah, Beetleborgs. Actually, we can talk about Metal Heroes later. That's a whole thing. But yeah, heroes that transform. Super Sentai is generally defined more by it's a team of heroes united under a common theme. There's I'm sure anyone who's seen Power Rangers has an idea of there's animal seasons, there's a lot of dinosaur seasons, that kind of stuff. And it's standard superhero stuff, monster of the week. A team of teenagers, unite around a common theme and a common goal and fight an evil army of some kind that always sends some wacky monster their way every other week.
I'm amazed that they still have like ideas for costumes and outfits. They've been doing it for so long.
They keep going.
But yes, the origin of the Power Rangers, the Super Sentai series, it is fun, amazing, and wild, and I'm so glad we get to talk about it. What was your first introduction to Super Sentai?
Of course, I watched Power Rangers as a kid. I grew up with that back in like the '90s and early 2000s. It was a big part of everyone's childhood, really, because there was like once Savin started going, like I guess around Lightspeed Rescue and up until like the whole Disney era with like Wild Force and Ninja Storm and all that, Power Rangers like really ruled the world. There was a anyone who's old enough to remember, there was just a period of time where you like if you went to like a toy store when they still had those, like a whole aisle was back to front just Power Ranger stuff. Like every
Oh
kid
yeah.
watched Power Rangers, every kid knew about Power Rangers. And Super Sentai is where they get mostly the suit footage and the giant robot footage, and then they do like the out of suit stuff themselves. And that varies a lot. A lot of seasons do their own stuff in the suits and with the monsters sometimes because they had an agreement for a long time to get all the props from Toei. And it's funny because I think about a lot is people people who aren't like familiar call Super Sentai Japanese Power Rangers, even though it's the other way around. But one of the funnier things Toei actually does is you can watch that. It's hard to track down, but for a while, to fill time on television, something Toei did was they took all the Power Rangers footage and they just dubbed back over it in Japanese and put it back on television. And there's
Yo.
some really funny ones, like with SPD. Deca Ranger, which is like the one it's based on, is so popular in Japan that they actually got the full cast back from the show to like voice their American counterparts when they just re-aired Power Rangers SPD on
Dang.
Japanese television.
Didn't SPD have like the US only version, the SWAT suits,
Yeah,
or was that actually in like Deca Ranger?
it's complicated. There's some suits that they make themselves or like edit themselves. I think the SWAT suits were in Deca Ranger, but they like transformed into them. It's been a while since I watched that. But like at least the SWAT team were not like separate characters. It was just
Yeah.
5 Deca Rangers, Deca Break, and Deca Master. Deca Master also Doggy Kruger was not an alien in the original one. For some reason, I guess like the original Doggy Kruger suit was like too, I don't know, mascotish for the American team, so they made a new whole costume that was still like a dog man, but he was like more alien-like. He had like scales. It's weird. Like if you
Yeah.
compare the two suits, they're very similar, but like you can tell which one is which.
I was gonna say they incorporate his design a lot more in the comic stuff lately in regards to just like people that help run Ranger stuff.
SPD is really big in the comics. I'm not super familiar with all the Boom comic stuff, but I know that's really big there.
Yeah. So what was your first one that you watched that you saw Super Sentai of?
Um, well, for Power Rangers, I watched all the ones that were like on as a kid. I watched In Space Rescue. You know, I watched Mighty Morphin because
Yeah.
I was a little young when that first came on, but you know they re-air that all the time. I liked Wild Force a lot. I liked Ninja Storm, Mystic Force. Like a lot of people, I fell off a bit with like Mega Force and Super Mega Force, and that's when I started watching like Go Kaiger. I watched
Yeah, Go
all that.
Kaiger. That was my first Super Sentai.
That's the
Cause
correct choice. I would like it's a little counterintuitive because like any other like anniversary season, people usually recommend against. Like you wouldn't recommend Zenkaiger for the first time or like
oh
Decade or
no.
CO to somebody who's new to Kamen Rider. But part of the premise of Gokaiger, and I won't give any spoilers, but part of the premise is that the characters themselves don't know anything about Super Sentai because of the way the show is set up. They don't know anything about Super Sentai going in, and through the course of the show, episode by episode, they have to learn about the previous 34 seasons. So, like, if you're new to Super Sentai, it's the best place to start because you can like learn along with them.
and learn you do. Ah, so many transformations, so many suits, so many characters. They actually
Yeah.
bring back some of the actors. And it's like,
Also a really
yo.
good. Yeah, those are funny. They did a really funny one. The movie with Space Sheriff Gavon. Um, they do a really funny bit about how that actor who played Gavin also played like two different Sentai characters. I think it's like Battle Fever Kenya, and I forget the other guy. But like, there's like, so like they just have like the three. It's like the same actor superimposed on the shot three times because they're trying to imply that like it's the same guy, but like it's supposed to be like three different people in
Hmm.
context. That whole bit is so funny.
No, it's a good time. Oh man, I love Gokaiger. I wish that Shout would keep re-releasing the box set so that we could eventually get to it because I would love to just have that as a
Gokaiger is a
collection.
really good season too. That's another reason why it's really good to start with. It definitely holds up. The show is good. The characters are good. They still get out Gokaiger content now. They did that two Kaiger special thing recently, so every
Oh
now and then.
yeah. Oh man, it's all just so good. Let's see. So, what are some of the aspects that you find the most enjoyable with it?
I always liked hero stuff. Like just like I read comics a lot as a kid, all that kind of thing. I like the even though I never understood it as a kid, but I always liked the idea of the hero's journey, like because I forget what book it was. There was somebody who wrote a book about the hero's journey, and he said something about how mythology is just psychology, like applied to stories. Like we're just kind of talking about when people make up like a mythical hero and like monsters and stuff, they're just kind of talking about human experiences.
Hmm.
So like heroes are sort of ideas. They're like ideals of humanity realized. Like the reason that Superman is like a big chiseled marble statue flying around is because he's sort of representing like an ideal that's larger than life of something that's like human but like more than human, and it's like, and fighting for justice, truth, peace, human life, all that good stuff. It's always like I feel like a lot of media recently feels the need to talk about things that are morally gray, but there's something to be said for stories that are just good and evil. Like it's a very feel good and very symbolic kind of story to have like the good guy, the team of unironic good guys, and then the evil monster army.
I won't lie. It's one of the aspects of Shin Godzilla that I appreciate is that yeah,
Yeah.
no, this is a threat. This is a threat, and we should take it seriously. And they just keep going through all of the red
Shin
tape
Godzilla is so
and
funny.
and
I One of my favorite scenes for
bureaucracy.
Shin Godzilla is when they like after they have like one of the first big meetings, they go to the press conference and announce that they don't think the monster can get up on land, and then it smash cuts to the thing crawling through the streets. I thought it was so fucking funny for that movie.
And then they're freaking back in the meeting room. They
Yeah.
finish that meeting to go to another meeting room to talk about
That's the whole thing. Well,
like
Hideki Anno made that movie as like a criticism for the way, just of the Japanese government in general, but specifically of how they handled the Fukushima disaster, the
yeah,
earthquake,
the
and the nuclear
earthquake.
meltdown and everything. Like,
That's
the, he had a lot to say about the government.
I,
But
I
yeah,
imagine that a lot it would go over a lot of people's heads, but like
another thing I
you watch
really,
enough CNBC or whatever it's
oh
called.
yeah, you get it. Another thing I really like about Super Sentai, obviously, is the robots.
It's my
I think,
favorite part. I won't lie. When I was
well,
little, I wanted to be a stunt actor for
oh yeah.
the those parts.
I forget the guy's name, but like up until super recently, up until like Lupad, I think they had the same guy in the suits every time. Like there was just one suit actor who did all the robots until he was like in his 80s or something ridiculous. Like there was just the guy who did
There was
that.
no more
He was
sweat that he could
awesome.
sweat. His sweat glands
Yeah,
were
broke in
perfectly
the
dried
ship.
out.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, robots are cool, obviously. Combining and transforming robots, also super cool. And I always love super robots. Like, that's a thing, that's kind of unique to Japanese media and anime and stuff. But like the idea of like a piloted robot as like not so much as a weapon, but as like a superpower. And it's really cool in Super Sentai because it's also sort of evocative of the teamwork, because it's like, you know, it's one thing to have the fight choreography and have them like do teamwork stuff in the fight against the monster,
Mhm.
but like it's another thing to have them all pilot one robot. Like it's much more straightforward. Like this this is the team coming together and, you know, merging all their powers into one, because it's just a
I,
big thing.
I gotta ask, do you appreciate the Office Space the design of the combined suit, or do you prefer the more weirder ones where they're like standing and dancing?
There's a variety. We're all over the place recently. Like, there's a lot where they're just seated down. There's the ones where they're on like a pedestal in like a black space. Like Kyoryujin is like that. They're just in like some weird null space. Those ones are interesting because it's like it raises the question of where they are even literally in the robot. Because like stuff like Daijujin, like you can see the shots where they show them just in the head. Like
Yeah,
you,
the
you
whole
you know
zoom
where
up.
they are, but like some of the more ethereal cockpits sort of just raise the question of like that's actually a thing with Boom Boonger, because they're in the cars the whole time, but you see some of the cars switch to attack mode to do the combination, and like the passenger part of the car like opens up and comes apart. It's like if you were driving the car and you're still in the car seat, like where are you in all of this? This raises a lot of questions.
Oh, the fights are so fun. The Zords. Oh man, what was it on Super Nintendo? The Power Ranger Tournament Fighter. Solid game
Yeah,
still. Solid game still. I feel like
a lot of the
up
fighting
there with
games
like
are
the
fun.
Turtles ones. But it had like
I always think about that
the
turtle
Ninja
costume.
one and the Thunder Dragon one. I don't think it had the regular Megazord. I don't think it had Daizujin, but I think it had stuff from
Yeah, it had a
Dai
lot of the guys.
Ranger to all the way to Zeo, I
The
think.
rescue one is funny in the show. A lot of this stuff, like when it does like the wheel, the like circular kick where it like lifts itself up on the ladder arms and does like a roundhouse spinning. Some of those stunts are crazy. I
It's
always love
super
that.
fancy. I always have a lot of respect for the person that uh, what would be the right way to say it? I guess wrote or choreographed the first episode of Car Ranger Turbo, where they're trying to fuse and the bad guys are trying to stop them from combining.
Yeah, that's something I feel like a lot of people don't realize. Like, that's something people always say about like long transformations and combining robots. Like, well, why don't they just stop them from combining? But that's like a plot point. That's been a plot point in Super Sentai. That's been a plot point in all sorts of super robot shows. Like that has been addressed in various different ways. It's so funny. Some of the Eldrin shows, when they get to the clip show episode, they specifically clarify that the robot combination only takes like 3 seconds,
Hmm.
and the long like stock footage is just for effect. But it like in reality, it's a lot faster than that.
It's like in the Wonderful 101 where they're like they hit the morpher and then in 1 billionth of a second the
Oh, that's a Metal
transfer.
Heroes reference.
Oh,
That's
it
that's
is
the
okay.
yeah.
It's-
If you ever watch stuff with where Gavin shows up, they talk about the electroplate thing. What his like signature thing, and what a lot of Metal Heroes do, is they'll electroplate and they'll do the transformation really quick, and then the narrator will explain the transformation, and then they'll play it back like slowly to show you how it really works. Is the classic Space Sheriff Gavin bit where he and it clarifies that like it's almost instantaneous. It's like 0.0001 second or something. Something stupid like that.
and yet they do the poses just for the style and the flair. It's so good. I think Akiba Ranger also makes fun of it too.
That's
It's
also a thing to sell the toys. Like in Boon Boonger, that's a thing now. They haven't done that in a while, actually. But like the Boon Boon Changer is actually a pretty simple thing itself. Like the actual mechanics of the toy are really simple. But like when they do the transformation lesson, like web special, the actors literally say like you have to do this pose and you like swing it around and you put your arm like this. And you roll the wheel along your one arm and you have to say boon boon change. Like that was a thing too. Like a lot of the toys back in the day had to be simple because there was like a limit to what they could do.
Mhm.
So like they did this with Kamen Rider too. Like they would they would have like a whole like pose and motion and like little dance that goes along with it because that makes it more fun for the kids to do. Like
Yeah.
it's very, you know, even if the toy just has like a button on it, you have to do the thing first, and that makes it more fun.
Now the
Like
Kamen Rider morphers have so many like extra accessories you can buy.
oh, you don't even. The current season Gotchard literally has a collectible card gimmick. Like
Oh,
you
the
have to
card
buy,
ones.
you have to buy packs of cards to get all of his transformations, like
I,
literal card packs,
I
like
always
trading
loved
cards.
X8. X8 has the cartridges you plug in.
Oh yeah, the little game cartridges.
It's like pew
So
pew
funny.
fighting fantasy. It's-
X8 is such a funny show. I don't know if you. There's a guy on Twitter recently called Toku Stats, and he's been running down like the Kamen Rider seasons and like win or loss rate and stuff. And it was so funny to see him go through X8 because he basically cataloged how the almost none of the main characters, like the good guys, had a positive like win loss rate,
oh no, they get their butts kicked so much.
and most of the villains did. Like Braun and all these guys, Kronos and everybody, they were just cleaning up.
I would say probably the one I think that has the most like win rate. That at least of the ones I've seen is probably Kabuto.
Yeah, Kabuto. My guy Tendo and his
Oh
grandmother.
man, I love him so much. The Path of Heaven, it's glorious. Clock on,
He really is
clock
that guy.
up.
There's a lot of writers who try to do his thing. Like Geets was sort of like that. Ace was sort of doing the Tendo bit to an extent, but nobody could quite. Nobody has quite ever done it like him.
No, no, there's something about that that's just like it's so good. Did you ever see the American Kamen Rider?
Yeah, Rider. Masked
Yeah,
Rider.
that
Oh,
that
that's so fun.
that felt like a fever dream. Like,
I wish
even
they
as
would
a
bring
kid,
that
I was
back.
watching it. I'm
I
like,
get why we haven't gotten
what?
like a DVD release or anything, but I really wish they would.
I liked how when was it Shout that did that one? No, it was the Shout. It was the Blue Discotheque. Discotheque did the
Yeah, I think
release.
Discotheque got around to
For Black RX, they're like 0% verbal, just the way you like
it.
it.
Yeah, no purpose to this.
It's like
Some
it's
of the
like
bits of
this
that
is
are
a
just so funny. Have been like constantly burned in my memory. Like the part, what are they with Robo Rider? Whatever they called Shadow Moon. There's the part where they're like doing the school prom or whatever, and the guy literally like breaks into the school and starts attacking them. And it's so funny. It's like funny out of context, but if you know who that guy actually is, it's even better.
It's great.
To just see Shadow Moon like run up on the high school and start beefing with high school kids, and of course the bit where they do like the crossover movie, and there's like everybody, all the like Showa era writers pull up for that, and they skip Rider Man because his mask doesn't cover his like mouth, like he doesn't say his name, so they mess up the whole like order of who's who, and everybody says their name wrong. Like 90% of them have the wrong name. Skyrider says that he's Amazon and all that. That bit is so good.
Skyrider, you know you're not Amazon. Stop that.
Yeah,
You can never confuse Amazon with any other one. I don't care who you are. Amazon just gives me scary dreams. Looks like it's gonna eat me.
Yeah, Amazon and Amazons.
What's one of your favorite Sentai suits? Like I am a huge fan of the Jet On, the Go-Onjers, gold and silver.
I've always my favorite season is definitely Gao Ranger, and I've always liked those. They're very
Oh, the Gao
classy.
Rangers are good. I
Yeah.
like the way that their outfits feel like one suit rather than just like a separated part.
Yeah, and it has a lot of nice bits on it where like the lines on their chest count off the Rangers, which is something that Go Ranger did. Like that's a nice because it's an anniversary season. That's a nice reference. But if you look, like the Red Ranger has like one band on his chest, and then so on and so forth to 5, and then when Gao Silver shows up, he has 6. Just a nice little touch. There's a lot of like the suits are mostly the same, but there's a lot of nice little details.
Yeah.
The concept art for those was wild. I'd have to track that down. But like, they were originally gonna have like a human mask over the face instead of a visor. There was a lot of design work stuff into Gao Ranger that's really interesting. They also literally did intend to have 100 beasts because it's the 100 beast Sentai.
Wow.
Do Sentai Gao Ranger. They had to cut that down to I think 22 show up in the show, but. There's somebody has a blog somewhere where they list out like all the concepts for like the bat and the peacock and the stingray and all the all the different ones.
That would have been in the movie where like 20 of them would have been used at once for for one boss
No,
fight.
unfortunately, the movie just gave us a recolor of Gao Kong.
Oh, despair.
Yeah,
What?
not gonna
Oh,
get all that.
the chat wants to know what's our least favorite costume.
The least favorite. I have to think about that.
Hmm.
That's
You know,
tough because
you
like
know what?
I
I'm
like
gonna
all the
say it.
filler
I'm
stuff.
gonna say it. I don't really like the Die Ranger outfit.
Yeah, I could see that because they're meant to be martial arts uniforms. I feel like the reference is too specific. Like I'm sure China like that, and people in Japan who are familiar with like wuxia stuff like that. But like, I feel like that's like a very actually niche thing outside of Asia. What I don't want to hate on it, but I actually didn't like the King Oger suits. Like,
Yeah,
I I don't want to.
I'm never going to tell anyone they're crazy for not liking it.
They were a little too one color, which is a big problem. Like in a lot of the shots, especially because of the lighting of the show, you couldn't really see the off colors, so they were just kind of one block of color, which I don't like. It sort of mutes all the details. And later in the show, um, I won't give any of the details of it, but obviously the Red Ranger as usual gets a power up, and it turns him 100% gold, which is which is a big problem because we have a Yellow Ranger on the team and we have a White Ranger with gold accents. So the color balance of that team, like through past the middle of the show, is terrible.
Oh, it's all
Like,
over the place.
it's like
Like
all cold colors. It's
King Oger
so much overlap.
is extremes and like the minus of extreme.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I guess like absolute zero.
I
It does
like the
everything
actual
of something or just no.
I like the concept of the suits, like the idea of like knight's armor and everything. Like we don't get a lot of fantasy seasons, which I think is a shame. Like Magic Ranger is very much an outlier, and even like Kira Major and stuff. Like there are like mystic fantasy themed ones, but it's very muted. Like
Hmm.
we don't especially get a lot of like high fantasy themed seasons. It's a very rare category, so
Do
it's
you
it's
think
nice to
we'll
see
ever
them wear
get
like
into
maybe women.
isekai?
Ah, it's tricky. I have like my own. I'll share art of that sometime, but I have like my own team. That's basically that. Um, the really unfortunate thing about that is the perfect team name for that is Bokenger, which they didn't know at the time, but they already took.
That already took it. They were
Yeah,
ahead
because
of their time.
that was the adventure theme season. But in every isekai you read, when they go and join the Adventurers Guild, they become Bokensha, which means adventurer. So like that's the ideal name, and we can't quite use that one again. So that's a little unfortunate.
Now, how do we compare the two American Power Ranger movies to the Super Sentai movies?
A lot of those are fun. Like I think about the Turbo movie. That one bit where they call Rita on the phone and she tells them off, where it's like they literally like dial up like on a rotary phone. They call Rita and they're like, "I need your help to defeat the Power Rangers," and she's like, "The Power Rangers? If I knew how to defeat them, would I be here listening to this?" And it cuts to like Zed snoring. That whole bit is so fun.
That bit is rock solid.
Uh,
I love the gimmick of just an angry married or dissatisfied married couple that just can't leave each other.
Yeah, a lot of the villain stuff in Power Rangers is fun because like they do a lot of like goofball stuff with the villains, which is always fun because like, you know, in Japan these are much more serious characters, but like in America they think that's like too much for kids. So like a lot of the more serious villains are turned into goofballs, which is really fun to see.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't translate over very well. Like with Super Mega Ranger, it's like,
Yeah,
oh
Super
no,
Mega Force was really
I
unfortunate.
love the Empire and how the Empire's son is trying to do his best and he keeps getting foiled. But
Well,
no,
that's one of the things. It's sort of upset by the whole continuity of that. How they had to go from Mega Force into Super Mega Force.
yeah,
Like there's a whole mess
it
there.
deserved a whole season, not
I
a
get
half
what they were
season.
trying to do, but like the problem is none of the Sentai seasons have continuity, so like it doesn't really work. Like the Ranger characters aren't the same, the themes aren't the same. Going from Angels to Pirates is just weird.
Oh, there's
It's
one.
like I
There's
forget which
one.
one,
What
but like
was it?
one of them switches from like he switches his fighting style entirely, and they never address that because like one of the ranger of his color is like a more smarter guy, and the next one is like a sword fighting expert. And they
Yeah.
never address that because it's like that's something that the suit actors do a lot is they try to convey like personality through the action scenes, and so that causes a big problem when
Gokaiger
you
has like
have
some of the
somebody
most character
inherit a
I can
color.
think of, like especially the Green Ranger,
Yeah,
how he fights so passively.
it's really unfortunate with I Ghost Sager is a good season, but it's really sandwiched between two like all-time greats. Like I feel like Ghost Sager gets a bad rap because if you were to watch the seasons in order, the like season before it is huge, and then the season after it is Gokaiger. So it's like any other season, it would be perfectly fine. I think it's a little above average. I like the Ghost Sagers. The Ghost Sagers are funny because one thing about like Super Sentai is like with Super Sentai characters at the start of the show are incompetent. Like
Hmm.
that's a running trope. Like they all have to go through character arcs to become good at things. But the Ghost Sagers are angels. Like they're literal angels dispatched from heaven. So at the start of the show they're bad at it. Which is just funny. It's
I
like
also like how it's like a fish out of water story. It's like, all right,
yeah,
we're in the human land. How do
yeah,
things work?
just bad at
I
being
was I was really
angels.
hoping Zoo Ranger would have like doubled back on that more. It's like, oh yeah, no, they were asleep for thousands of years, and now they woke up in regular society. What are they
Yeah, they
gonna
just
do?
kind of hung
Well, they're
out.
gonna hang out with a lot of
Yeah, those
children
guys
in
were chill.
playgrounds. And I'm like, hang out with children in playgrounds. Are we sure the Zoo Rangers are the bad guys? Do we need Chris Hansen up in here?
But yeah, like that's like in Go Go V, they're like emergency response people, and like you know, they had all been like firefighters and stuff up to that point, but as soon as they get like deployed as Go Go V, they're like immediately fumbling the bag. It's like a firefighter would know what they were doing. I don't know what you guys are like cracking under pressure here.
I remember what was it, Lost Galaxy? Had to like change its thing from being like all about Earth and all about nature to being about yeah, other planets. Sure.
Yeah, well, Lost Galaxy is about Ginga Man was about ancient civilizations again, and it has a focus on astrology. And because that followed up, I think it was In Space. They tried to change it to be a more space season. That was just something Sabin did a lot. He'd like space. I guess he thought kids like space, but it was it was a very clashing themes going on. They
Yeah.
also did that to the what is it? Kaku Ranger. Kaku Ranger, they used the Megazords in like the third season of Mighty Morphing, but they did a mini series called the Mighty Morphing Alien
Oh,
Rangers,
I remember
where
that.
they're
The
aliens from
Aquanauts or
a
whatever
yeah
they are.
yeah the whatever they fucking call them. Like Zordon calls a team of rangers from an alien planet,
Because
and
our
then they
because
turn
our
into ninjas.
rangers because our rangers have been turned into kids and kids
Yeah,
can't
they
be
get turned into
rangers.
babies.
Oh wait, kids can be rangers though.
Yeah, Kiba. Well, well, he's not a kid in that one.
Oh man. I always thought it was weird when the Blue Ranger was the kid and then he would like get the grown up body, but then I
Yeah.
found out that no, that's actually how the original White Ranger was. I'm like, ah, damn.
Yeah, Kiba Ranger.
Now I can't complain about it. Now I have egg on my face. Oh no.
Another thing I like about a Gal Ranger a lot, which varies between seasons, but the robots in that are very modular, which is nice. Like they just switch
Yeah.
stuff out a lot. Like Gao King can equip the giraffe spear arm. He can get the bears. He can get the elephant shield. He can get the rhino and the armadillo, which give him soccer powers. That's another thing that's fun about Gal Ranger is like a lot of they play it so straight, but a lot of their powers are silly and it's funny. Like like their ultimate powers are soccer based. When Gao Silver finally pulls up, he literally pulls out a pool cue and starts attacking people with it. And like nobody ever breaks Gao. And when they use Gaudiers the first time, it works as a bubble blower. And like nobody ever addresses that. They never break character on that. They play it so serious.
Oh
I feel
man.
like we don't have like ridiculous powers like that as much.
No, we don't. We don't have the whole
Yeah, like
like
King
super
Ogre's King Never.
volleyball technique or the one where they somersault themselves and make car noises as they like somersault past the enemy.
Yeah,
Vroom
not
vroom
can't
vroom.
quite do that as much. Taking ourselves a little too seriously. Although I like Boom Booger has been very goofy. I really adore Boom Booger. If this was a few months ago, I would be much less optimistic. But Boom Booger really got back to the roots. I love that. I adore that show because like I don't want to hate on King Oger, but it wasn't really my thing for a bunch of reasons. And the last 3 seasons generally have been very experimental. Like Zenkaiger did a whole thing because it was an anniversary season.
Hmm.
Don Brothers is impossible to understand unless you have watched enough Inoue works, and and then we got King Oger, which is just a whole other thing. So it's nice to finally see a season of Super Sentai.
I feel like you could also
These other
appreciate
shows have been interesting.
Don Brothers more if you actually like knew the legend of Momotaro and all that
That
stuff.
would help, but it's not actually that relevant.
Oh, is
The
it?
thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, you'd think it would be, but it doesn't come up that much.
Okay.
It's surprisingly. Inoue was doing a whole thing. Inoue is a very strange man. Like it's really hard to explain. You'd have to watch Jetman, Agito,
Oh,
Vise, and Kiva
I've watched like the
to
first 5
really
episodes of
understand him.
Jetman, and I like
Yeah,
Jetman
that's
on
the same guy. Like
Okay.
basically, so what happened with Don Brothers, the like inside baseball like meta reason for that whole thing is that Super Sentai had basically not been profitable for 10 years. They had been going in the red.
I
Constantly.
remember hearing about that, and all
Yeah,
it's
since
like, are they just
Kyoryuger, we haven't made any money.
making too many toys, or like what's the deal? What's the deal?
It's all over the place. You know, it's weird to say it like this, but Bandai doesn't understand how to sell toys.
No, Bandai doesn't get a lot of stuff.
You'd think they'd get it, but like, because that's their whole business model, but they don't quite understand. But like, they Inoue is a long time Toei writer. I'm pretty sure his dad also wrote for Toei, and he's an oddball, but they bring him in as the pinch hitter, and he really came through. So like, you know, it's characters. That's something. He's a very weird guy about that, but that's something he gets because when he did Jetman, one thing he asked Toei, which they absolutely didn't let him do, is he wanted to do episodes of the show where there was no Sentai stuff at all. Like it would just be the characters doing character drama stuff. They wouldn't transform, no monster, no weapons, nothing. And naturally, Toei told him he couldn't do that. But Jetman is definitely remembered for its characters. Like,
Yes.
you know, like the
one thing I'm enjoying a lot about
part of
Jetman compared to like Die Ranger. It's like
Jetman is very dearly remembered for its character. So like that was a crazy thing to suggest in the context of Super Sentai, but he was right. And honestly, they gave him a little bit too much free reign with Don Brothers. That was actually something Shira Chris said, the producer. He said on Twitter that like they let Inoue basically do whatever he wanted at the start, and he said that was actually a bad idea because it was impossible to find anyone to guess right Don Brothers. Like nobody would know what to do with those characters other than Inoue. Like it was impenetrable, and he had to do it. So they were really trapped with him after a while. And one thing about him is like he likes some of the themes, like he likes the idea of like the calling to be a hero and dual life, but he's not really too much for action, and he hates toys. He's one of these real like auteurs who loves like writing and art and does not like to sell toys. There's a really iconic scene in Fies where they force him to include the new toy in the show, and literally somebody just comes up and throws it at the guy's head.
Oh man, that sounds like the origins of Gundam, where it was like, yeah, we had to settle for making it a toy
Tomino
show.
hated Bandai. That's a whole
Yeah.
that really hit him, and that put him in a rough spot in his life. But he couldn't put up with the Bandai executives.
It's like, hey, we need a fighter jet, and look, it drops the Gundam. It's called the G Fighter. But sir, that means there's nothing in the actual fighter that's making it fly.
That was one of the things that he said all the time that Bandai didn't get, because like the like contemporary viewers of any Gundam show, when he went to events, when he went to like release events, stuff for the show as it was releasing, almost the entire audience was women who just like the characters. They just, like Char and Amuro for less than family friendly reasons. But that's beside the point. But like Tomino literally said to them that like all the men who watch the show later and buy the toys are not like the audience of the show when it's coming out. Like
Right.
we need to make a show now that has a good story and good characters, and that's what will get us good ratings. And then everybody who buys all the figures will come around later. Like, and that's how it always goes.
There's some people that are just ahead of their time, but also just a reminder that big businessman is not your friend.
Well, he really had a rough time with them. I don't want to get into it too much, but after he quit with Victory Gundam, he was in a really rough spot. It's like the thing that really got to him was that I forget what the next season was. I guess it was Wing. I'd have to check. But like
If it
they
was
just
Victory, it was no
yeah,
G Gundam.
maybe it was G Gundam. But like
I remember
basically
G Wing X.
what really bothered him is he found out about the next season. After quitting, he found out about the next season along with everyone else, like when they announced it on television. Like nobody called him, nobody sent him like a memo or anything. Like
Didn't even send him a card with the model.
yeah, and it bothered him that like it didn't like he had dedicated a lot of his time and energy to the series, and it just didn't seem like they cared, and that really got to him. But his wife and family really helped him out a lot.
Yeah, and then he came back and he did Turn A, which was like, let's go.
Well, when he came back and did Turn A, he was just like on a tear. Like, because they asked for him to come back and he came back on his terms, basically they had no creative control over Turn A. And like they literally
very obvious.
They literally asked him to like do certain things or not do certain things, and he would just flatly refuse. Like he would go to meetings with the executives, and they'd be like, "Well, can you do this? Can you not? Can this character like not be gay or whatever? Can Laura not act like this?" And he'd be like, "No,
no."
He'd be like, "Too bad."
Listen, all right, Lauren's gonna wear panties in this episode, and no one's going to stop me.
Yeah.
You don't need the context. It's just the way it is.
He really understood in Turn A, which was a big problem with him before, is that he sort of wrote rough outlines for everything and then let his writing team handle a lot of the work. Because one of the things he did, like, up through Char's Counterattack is he was doing everything himself.
Yeah,
like,
if I remember, like, they didn't have the biggest of staff.
Yeah, he was taking on way too much on his own. Even the staff he had, he wouldn't really delegate things to, because it was a lot about like his vision, his responsibility, his legacy, all this sort of stuff. Like he took it very seriously, and that kind of made it hard for him to like work with people in a way that made sense. But he really mellowed out by the time of Turn A, and he worked in a much more sensible manner.
That's good. That's good. Gennaro Urobuchi hasn't done a Super Sentai series, has he?
No, but he did Gaim.
He did Gaim, yeah.
Kamen Rider series.
I love that guy's craziness, but I feel like I would love to see a Sentai that he'd write. Although I feel like it'd be probably too dark for us.
Yeah, that'd be like that's the problem with I don't know if we could bring him in on Sentai. I think the current producer said that, if I remember right, the target age demographic of Boon Boonger is like 3 to 8. We can't quite let Urobuchi do whatever he wants.
So we can't have characters accidentally killing little brothers or best friends after they've turned into monsters.
Well,
we just can't have that, dude.
People. Like Rangers have died, but like
Rangers have died. People don't realize.
There's a whole different context to that. Like we can't quite do it the way Urobuchi does it. That's the thing. Like it's not that we can't have those kinds of stories, especially on Japanese television. It's a little different. What they think is appropriate for kids, but like we can't quite do it the way he would want it. He did Godzilla stuff. He wrote the anime trilogy.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
No, I really like those.
The last one I think is messed up. I think it's almost like Evangelion 3.0, where Anno's like, all right, I'm tired of people asking for stuff. You'll take this and you'll like it.
No, I think you're really onto something. The thing about that is that like the anime movies sort of embody the kaiju as gods. Like I get a lot of people's complaints, like people wanted to see the cool Mecha Godzilla design like fight Godzilla directly.
Oh, like, I'm not even that. It's just the extreme nihilism of it, like really kind of like tore into me. I'm like,
Well, I don't know if that's a problem with the last one. Haruo was trying to kill himself the whole time.
Like
Like that was every plan he came up with was some suicide plan. And then whenever he made decisions on the fly, which was really funny, it would always make it a much more drastic suicide attempt. Like, hey
I'm
guys,
gonna blow myself up or die
yeah,
trying.
yeah, I know how to kill Godzilla. What if I killed myself? What if I blew myself up? What if I was the decoy? What if I flew into nuclear heat and melted my robot?
Sounds like a good strategy to me. I don't know what everyone's
Yeah.
talking about.
He was always on that grind. But it's like there's something about Godzilla and like the environment of Earth becoming Godzilla and being an extension of him, and then like Mecha Godzilla is like a cancer encroaching on the planet, and like
I do like that. I do like that a lot.
They literally had to do like a ritual to summon Ghidorah from another universe as like a dark god beyond the colors of time, and Mothra like invaded the guy's dreams from her egg. Like the kaiju in the anime trilogy are worshipped, and they make their presence felt and not seen in a lot of ways. Like they're very much like gods in the Shinto sense. They're very much local deities and stuff like that express their power in the world beyond just straight physicality. And I really like it. Like I get a lot of the complaints people have about that, but I think he was onto something, and it's just an interesting take on the character.
It is a very interesting take on. It's unique, and I always appreciate someone doing something that's not been like overdone before.
I might be the outlier on that. I also like 1998, so maybe I'm just much more.
No, that one.
What
Wait,
I'll allow.
You're talking about the American one, right?
Yeah, the first American one.
Okay. I think it's funny.
If you watch the cartoon and if you watch The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, I feel like people would get it. And also, it's important to understand, like...
The cartoon was way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah, the cartoon was awesome. But one of the things people don't understand about that design, which is a whole thing to unpack, but a lot of people hear the stories of how those design meetings went and different things, and they think that the Japanese team didn't like the design because it's bad.
No, they loved it.
Well, the thing about the design that had them taken aback, and the reason for it looking like that is it was designed to be sexy. Like they literally
let's make a sexy T-Rex.
Like it was meant to be like slender and sexy and sensual. Like literally the quotes are about this. And when they did the meeting, like there's an infamous meeting that people talk about when they're like hating on the design about how like they brought it to the Japanese Toho staff and they were speechless and like everyone left the meeting without talking. But then there's a line where one of the guys from the meeting goes to his superior and he describes the kaiju as being like tall and slender and like an Olympic athlete. Like that design, it's not that the design was bad. It was just very different for very specific reasons.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. What?
Yeah. I mean, Jurassic Park is cool.
Jurassic Park made a lot of money.
It's fun. And like something that people say, which I agree with, is that like if it wasn't Godzilla, it works perfectly. Like if it's just a kaiju disaster movie, it's a good movie. Like if you're not judging it whether or not like against Godzilla and whether as an adaptation of Godzilla, I feel like it works really well.
In my heart of hearts, I always treat it as like that wannabe like Godzilla spawn, like how they use him in Final Wars, like.
Yeah, that scene is great. Final Wars is awesome.
Final Wars is so good.
Man, I can't get over it. The fact that they had Don Fry in that movie. They need to do that shit more. Like Toei needs to do that shit. I don't know why they don't bring in more Japanese wrestling guys, but like Don Fry in that movie as Captain Gordon.
He's one of my favorite characters.
Doesn't know how to act. He can't speak Japanese at all. So all they have him do is like do cool poses and occasionally like just say an English one-liner.
Oh, you know that that means
so perfect.
We need John Cena and Super Sentai ASAP.
Yeah, why not? It'd be like they gotta get more like a lot of these Japanese wrestling guys, especially like Kamen Rider. They kill to be in that, and we hardly ever do that. They had a wrestling episode of Gotcha Art. It was awesome. uh but like the iconic bit where he like sits down at the commander's chair and he's like, begin operation, final war. That movie is so fucking awesome.
That's so good.
Oh, it's perfect.
Great time. Great time.
Yeah,
Oh
just get a
man.
big ass wrestler dude. He has a handlebar mustache. Put him in a military uniform. Get him a samurai sword. Like that.
Give him that
You know,
samurai
what do we need
sword.
fucking actors for anyway? This is perfect. This is awesome.
Seriously, they say AI will take over. It's like, no, no. This is what we need to take over. AI can't replicate this.
Nah, couldn't. No one could ever do it like it. That was something else.
Oh man, we're at the point where we're going to take some questions. Hey, chat, I know there's probably a whole bunch of stuff you want to know. Feel free to ask us in the bottom, and I will
Yeah,
start us off on a question. It's like, what's your favorite Zord? Singular.
Singular? Probably the Falcon from like Gao Icarus, or I think it was the Isis Megazord.
Okay.
Like the whole bit with that is really iconic because they basically do the like trials and rebirth bit from the hero's journey, except it's the whole team. They just pass out in Wild Force, but in Gao Ranger they literally get killed. Like the 4 other Rangers get killed and sent directly to hell. And they have to,
Yeah.
like overcome a trial to release the Falcon, and it like bursts out through a volcano and everything. Like that whole scene is just so great.
That is a good one. That is a good one. I'm a big fan of the Gokai Silver's like
Oh yeah, the drill
three in
thing.
one drill thing. It's like
One of the
it's part Dragon Zord, part Drill Zord, part
It
Mega
fits him
Zord.
perfectly because he's such a fucking dork. Like
Yeah,
he's such a Sentai nerd. Like that is, if he could pick his mecha, it would just be something like that.
just those three just combined.
One of the things I love also about Gao Ranger specifically is every time they do the Megazord combination, the narrator cuts like a sick wrestling promo for it. Like, and it has like a different, like the muscle warrior and the spirit king arises and all this shit. Like every single time, it's so perfect.
Nice. Let's see. What is the favorite collectible trinket from the more modern series, other than Ranger keys?
I mean, I have the new one. This is pretty good. The Boom Boom Changer is really nice. Like, I like the design of it. They explained it on the transformation lesson episode, but it has like the wheel. It's like a stopwatch. It's a speedometer. It has the engine. Like, it's just a really nicely designed thing, in my opinion. And I have the gun from Zenkaiger, the Gear Linger, which is fun with all the gears.
I really like what are they called? In Lupin Ranger,
Oh yeah,
the
the guns.
Kaito items,
Yeah,
where
oh
it's
yeah,
like,
the Lupin collection.
yeah, I think that's a
It's
really cool little thing where they're all just these little trinkets that have these like bullshit ass powers,
it's
and
so
they got to do
funny
the
in the
safe number to like crack them out.
oh yeah, it's so funny in the back half of that where like after the Pat Rangers understand what's going on, and that like the Lupin Rangers are literally gonna die if they don't like steal everything, and then they're still giving them a hard time.
Yeah.
Oh, this season is so crazy.
Let's see, who's your favorite villain in Super Sentai?
That's a tough one. I'd probably
Hmm.
have to say Yabaiba and Sui Sui from Gao Ranger. They just maybe they'll get overshadowed by the new ones, but like they just do the like Team Rocket bit so well. Like I really like incompetent villains. It's just fun. Like just to have the like the dedicated lackeys who show up every day to lose. That's just such an iconic bit from that kind of show.
I'm not sure if I have a favorite. Probably the Emperor's Son and Gokaiger, but Gokaiger's always such a go-to.
Yeah.
I really liked how in as Ranger, Goldar, and Scorpina, I forget her actual name, are an actual like married couple, and
Oh yeah.
like he
That's fun.
finally gets the ability to talk. Like granted that from Rita,
Yeah.
and his first words were, "How may I serve you, mistress?" instead of "I love you" to his wife, and she gets so butthurt about it.
I also really like the Saima family in Go Go 5. I forgot what they called them in Lightspeed Rescue, but like it doesn't carry over to Lightspeed Rescue, but Go Go 5, the all the members are like siblings. Like they're all brothers and sisters. And then the villain team is also like a family. Like they're like more of like a mafia family, but it's like it's a nice juxtaposition.
Oh yeah, okay. And then I'm talking about Lupin Ranger, the gang, the mafioso,
Oh yeah, those
where
guys.
there's a fucking Don, and everyone else is just trying to garner more territory for doing the jobs.
Actually, speaking of Lupat, would you consider the Pat Rangers to be villains in that show?
Yeah, I would. I kind of
You
would.
kinda-
You know what I would until I saw the stage
Man.
play where the Red Rangers kiss, and then I'm like,
Yeah, well, you know how fast it is. That's
I'm
actually
like
funny
called
about
it.
about Boon Boonger is people on Twitter recently who I guess are new to the series, who hopped in from like Don Brothers or something, are really hyping up the fact that like the Blue Ranger and the Red Ranger are doing the whole the whole men bit are very very obviously like shit are Fujo bait, and it's like
The will they won't they is so
I
strong.
get it, but like that's just a normal thing. That's a regular thing for Super Sentai. We've always been doing that.
Red only, blue
It's
only.
it's so fucking there's a bit in the early episodes of the show where they're like still introducing everyone. And the Pink Ranger literally asks the Blue Ranger why the Red Ranger specifically is allowed to call him a nickname. That like anybody else says it and he objects. And he's like, why is he allowed to call you that?
Don't
Why-
worry about
Why
it.
do you
Don't
let
worry
him call
about
you
it.
baby girl? What's that about?
It's a long story. Ooh, Go Busters had good villains too. I did like Enter.
Oh yeah, Enter and Escape. That and nobody has ever done it like Enter. Like Enter really stole the show. I love the Go Busters and their whole like found family catty nonsense, but like Enter is really the guy of that show. He really he is that show.
One thing I like about Go Busters is how often they do the broken helmet gig.
Yeah, that's always
It's like, yeah, okay, I may be bleeding out of my eye because the helmet broke while I took that hit, but I'm gonna hop in this rabbit sword and I'm gonna fucking fight.
man, we've never gotten another rabbit. That's like I think that's the only like small like field animal we've ever gotten. But yeah, I always love the helmet bit, especially because the prop work of that is really fun. Like when they did a similar bit in Revice with like when Kamen Rider Live and Evil fought, and it literally just looks like they knocked that fucking helmet in with a sledgehammer.
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
it's so good. Like I love when they do prop work like that when they have the props and they like mess them up. That's always great. But like that's something that you can really only do right with like practical effects.
Yes, 100%. Oh yeah, but no, that's Super Sentai, along with Kamen Rider, along with Metal Heroes, along with Gundam. Everything kind of like bleeds together in the creative process. Everything builds from each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are all Toei shows. Well, not Gundam, or is I forget that. That's that. Well, Gundam is also Bandai.
Sunrise, I think, is the main Gundam
Yeah.
people. But either way,
You
either
know,
way, everything's gonna
it's
be
still Bandai involved.
everything's gonna be owned by Disney one day, so it's okay.
They don't, obviously they can't do the broken helmet thing, but I like in Ultraman, the fights in Ultraman are just a lot grittier.
Oh, they
Like,
are. They get the wrestling moves
Tsuburaya
in.
has
Yo.
no respect for their titular character. Like the fights in like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider are very choreographed and are very like theatrical, but like every Ultraman has to get in like a gritty wrestling match with kaiju.
They
Like
have to try and
It's
try and
so funny.
suplex.
I always think about how one of my favorite Ultraman seasons is definitely Leo, because Leo always got his ass kicked. Like the average episode of Leo would have him fight a kaiju, get his ass beat, and then Dan would kick his ass in human form as training. And he would be sent back into the kaiju fight and barely scrape by. Like, bro, like he was like averaging like 3 ass kickings per episode at least. And he really struggled for it. I think they actually even commented that on it was like Trigger or something, where it's like the lesson from like when they were going through all the seasons, the lesson from Leo is that they don't always have to win. Like they can come back and run it back later.
Just run it back. Run it back. We
Sometimes
got
heroes
this.
lose. You know how it is.
So, do you have anything going on? I know you told me that you're slowly working toward like a not a rebrand, but kind of like some updated stuff. Anything else you got going on?
I have like a new model coming. I have a lot of lore art. I'm getting art of like the Ranger team and the Megazord before it turned into an anime boy and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting a new model, which is it's not really a rebrand or a re-debut or whatever you want to call it, because it's like the same premise. It's just going to be a bit of a design update.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be like more robotic.
A 2.0.
Yeah, but the basic idea is going to be the same. And you know, probably when I get that, I'm gonna try to come back to streaming more, have more of a regular schedule, try to do more collabs, all that kind of good stuff.
Well, yeah, sounds good. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the show and talking Super Sentai with me. It was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was fun. We went off topic a lot, but it's all general. It's all related.
Ah, it happens, but that's all right. Next week, my guest picked Kamen Rider, so I'm gonna be going off subject a lot too on that one.
Godspeed has been really good. It took a while to pick off, but like after episode 5, where they did the wrestling bit, was great, and then like after episode 10, they finally sort of get their feet under them about where they want to take the show, and it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thank y'all so much for coming by to watch. Y'all have a good rest of the night.
Thanks for watching.
A good care. I don't know if there'll be any more streams from me this week. Maybe Friday, but we'll see. But if not, I'll see y'all next week, and y'all have a good day. Bye, Q.
Bye-bye.